My people, welcome to Rants and Randomness. I'm Luvvie and Ajayi Jones, and this is my show where I'm talking about all the things that I'm loving, things that I'm side-eyeing, and having great conversations with really dope people. I'm here at my office, at home, recording this episode while the good people at Chicago Recording Company will be working their magic to bring y'all the radio voice, as always. On this episode, I am having an amazing conversation with the brilliant Gabrielle Union. In our conversation, we talk about a lot of things. We talk about how she's been in this industry for over 25 years. We talk about what happened on America's Got Talent and why, even though there was somebody else on the show who's Black, she did not get that support that she needed. We talked about how she is being a radically transparent, radically honest parent. We talk about a lot of things, and I'm thankful to her for her transparency, for her honesty, for coming on this show. So take a listen to this interview, and if you love what you hear, please show her love on her social media platforms so she knows that the Rants fam is down. All right, y'all, let's jump in. The first thing is, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
I wanted to be a lawyer, and I wanted to be a defense lawyer because my sister and my mother were obsessed with watching Perry Mason. Like, they watched it every day. So I grew up watching, Perry Mason. And then my sister got really into LA law. And I really, really, really wanted to be an ADA on Law and Order. That obviously never happened because there's never been a Black ADA on Law and Order. But yeah, so I've always been obsessed with the law and defending, the underdog.
So when did law become acting? How did that happen?
So somewhere around me studying for the LSATs and not doing well on practice tests. Not looking great for me to go from UCLA to not a prestigious, law school. And just thinking, like, if I'm struggling with the LSATs, I don't know if a career in law is for me. But around that same time, I was studying for the LSATs. I got an internship at a modeling agency as office help for 4 units. I paid for college myself. So I was taking 20 units. I was trying to jam pack my second to last quarter at UCLA because I wanted an easy last quarter. It all made sense at the time.
Right.
Yeah. But I started taking 20 units. I wanted 4 more. And I was like, I have no time left in the schedule to add an actual class. And somebody was like, yo, you can get an internship at the Expo Center. Just pick an easy internship. So I picked what I thought was the easiest internship. I'm like, working with models, like, how hard could this be? So I got that internship for 4 credits. And when my internship ended, the guy I had been interning for, who's been my manager for 20 years, was like, would you ever be interested in modeling? We've had some clients, come in here and they saw you and they wondered if you were one of our girls. 20 some odd years ago, I was probably like 15 pounds thinner. I looked like a cricket, like definitely not the kind of working model that they had on the adult side. So they were like, let's just let's take a couple Polaroids. We'll send you to Teen Magazine, Sassy, and All About You. They were like these 3 teen magazines that were under one roof. And without a book or anything, I was booked. And I was like, oh, yes. I'm Naomi Campbell now. I'm this is it. But I was like, like in those teen magazines, it's like how to survive a breakup. It would be like my picture, like I would do that kind of modeling. I had a big gig at Montgomery Wards, but I was making $120 a day, while I was studying, to try to improve my LSAT scores. I got this opportunity and they were like, well, let's just send you on an audition and see what happens. We'll make up a fake resume. I had taken the oral interpretation of literature class, never took any drama, nothing like that, but I have a photographic memory.
Really?
So, yeah. It comes in handy, but it comes in handy, but not in the ways that you think.
No, that's actually fascinating to me because, so when you read a book, you know what words were on certain page.
Yes. It's like my brain, it's like it takes a picture of how the words appear. Now, if someone were to ask me like a multiple choice question, that's like ideal because I can tell you where the words are and how the answer is framed in the words, whatever. But if someone were to say, explain to me the concept of, and I'm like,
that's where I can't help you out there.
Yeah. Like I may not understand a concept. I could regurgitate the words, but that doesn't mean I understand the words, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Also, I'm a nerd because I'm like, oh, okay, acting model, that's cool. Now tell me about this photographic memory. I'm like, that's fascinating to me.
No, it's made me lazy as an actor, you know, over time, because I'm not doing Hamlet, you know, I'm not doing the most challenging things at all times. So when I have been challenged, I'm not as prepared as I probably should have been because I'm like, oh, I'll just look at it during hair and makeup and memorize. And people are like, okay, well, that was one interpretation, but what the fuck are you doing? Like I'm absolutely not understanding the text.
And you're just repeating it.
Yes, but I'm word perfect, but
I have it, but not to that level. I remember taking tests where I'm like, I remember the answer because I remember the page where I read it. Could not tell you what the concept and what like the actually explanation was, but I can also picture some of the words like, okay, that was in the middle of the page that I studied the last hour. So I have something similar. So I fully understand what you're saying here. So you end up you become the accidental model. So what was your first role?
My first role was Saved by the Bell, the new class. So it wasn't the OGs, but Screech and Mr. Belding were still on the show with like different kids.
I've seen a few episodes of those. I did not know you were on there. How many years ago was that? Because I don't think really people don't understand how long you've been in the game because you still look 20, which is wild.
Well, thank you. That was 95.
Okay, Carrie the One. That was about 25 years ago. 25
years ago. And then they all happened like back to back to back. So it was like Saved by the Bell, the new class. And then I booked a 1-800-Dentist commercial. Maybe you saw it. 1-800-Dentist. And then I did remember the AT&T commercial with the black girl? That they had this whole series of commercials with, her name was Tamara Taylor. No. But I was supposed to be the next black AT&T girl, and Forrest Whitaker directed the piece. And then they said it looked a little too sexual because I was supposed to be 15 going on a date, and like they did this like slow-mo of my lipstick like turning up, and anyway, the commercial got scrapped. And then I got Moesha. I got Moesha, and I booked a guest spot on the first episode of the first season after the pilot. And I was the snobby cheerleader.
Mo to the E to the. And then the most iconic, Bring It On. You weren't even supposed to be somebody who people really honed in on, and you end up like still in the show. What year was that?
That would have been like 2000. Yeah, because this year's the 20th anniversary. So we shot it in 99, but it came out in 2000.
How did your life change after Bring It On?
It didn't. Yeah. Wow. Every time I had one of those big moments where they're like, now, and you get on all those lists. And I talk about it all the time. You go from it girl to shit girl, because there was never any strategic plan for some of us black girls, which is why you see some of us have these stops and starts and stops and starts. You know, like everyone I came up with had a really meandering career trajectory. So you might have been in these huge hits, but it didn't translate into this, you know, opportunity, the career that your white peers who had similar success, how that translated for them. It was always just very different. So being like after Bad Boys.
Yeah, that is actually true. There's a lot of like 90s black actors who like came up in the 90s together, who a lot of them we don't see now, who we definitely have not seen in a long time. Coming up in Hollywood as a black woman, like I know there's a lot, but what is the thing that you wish people have known this whole time?
That we've always had it, that we've always had the ability to do more. We just never got it. Because there's this idea that everyone in Hollywood gets to choose their roles. And it's like those books where you pick your adventure or you pick your ending. And they think that's really how it works for Black talent. And it does not. They think everyone is super rich. That is not the case. Because you hear about, like, if you hear about a Will Smith salary, that's not what, you know, Michael Ealy is making.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or has made. You hear about, you know, I don't know, Julia Roberts. Yeah. But that's not what Viola's making. You know what I mean? Or Taraji or Sanaa or Regina, any of the Reginas, King or Hall.
Right. Right.
And that, you know, and the other thing is, for most of us, it's not just, it's like for any Black person that, you know, quote unquote makes it, we have so much family that, you know, that you have to provide housing, insurance, schooling, any kind of educational opportunity. Anytime anything goes wrong, like that's you. So like it's not just, oh, I lost a gig or my show got canceled, like, or my movie didn't open and I didn't hit my back end bonuses. It's like, wham, rich person. It's like, the pay scale has never been the same. Like what we make and what they will flat out tell you to your face. Yeah, that's a good number for her. You know, like, that's for her. Yeah. And be grateful. You better be the happy Negro about this too.
How do you move through that space without wanting to cuss everybody out every day?
Well, I cuss everybody out every day now. I mean, I wasn't doing that, you know, before, because I was afraid, and that fear is real. You will get put out. They will get you up out the paint, and no one will ever hear from you again. And they will create a whole narrative around you that you were a diva, you're difficult, you had a problem, and that'll be like, that could cover anything. They say it sort of ominously, well, you know, she had problems. You're like, wait, what? Now I'm like, you want to go back and you're like, what happened to this person, this person, this person? Where did they go?
Yes.
Where did they go? But what you find out later, they complained, they reported something, they asked for equity, God forbid. They, you know, they spoke up for themselves, and it comes at a price, and it's come at a price for many, 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 many people.
You were at Essence Black Women in Hollywood, what was that, 5 years ago, when you won the award, and you gave this like amazing speech about how you used to see the system and like how you've seen it now because of how they basically pit Black people against each other. In your it's weird to call you a veteran because, again, you look 20.
No, I'm an OG.
You're an OG in this game. Right now, in this Black Lives Matter, Black Girl Magic moment, how is it landing for you?
Well, I mean, Black Lives Matter, it's been, you know, for years, you know, when did it originate? In 20...
Trayvon Martin died in 2014? Yeah.
2014. So 6 years. So for all of us who, I believe it was like around Ferguson, like 24, I believe it was like 2014.
Yeah.
But it's been, for all of us who've been about that life, who this whole time, it just feels like the cavalry, you know, has arrived, and that we aren't crazy. We're not ungrateful assholes. We're not divas. We've been people who've been trying to do the work of creating a more fair and equitable experience across all industries. So it just feels like, you know, most times being wrapped in the hug of a family, and you feel buoyed when you are weary and encouraged when you want to give up, and you feel seen and heard and understood in a way that we've never really been as Black women. Yeah. And I think it's been slower for some of us in Hollywood, Black women, because there's real fear, and the fear is legit. Yeah. And you just, everyone's line in the sand is different of how much you're willing to take and how much you're willing to put up with. But I think that line in the sand is, you know, that the gig as they say, is up. Even the most, you know, I will always center the white gaze, you know, Black talent folks.
Yeah.
Are like, I mean, come on, damn, like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a time of reckoning.
Yeah.
So speaking of, you recently ended up in the news because you decided to speak truth to power about what you experienced at your old gig at America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
And it was an example of the real consequences that come when we decide to be bold and courageous and speak the truth. So give the rundown of that. Like, what happened with America's Got Talent? What happened when you decided to say something publicly?
I mean, literally from day one, I mean, there's 1,000 things that happen. So I'll try to give you some more of the highlights, but literally from day one, I walk in, what I thought was just an easy job. I had a new baby. I wanted to, you know, have a job that allowed her to be around. And I was assured it's like, this is a family-friendly space. It's safe, blah, blah, blah. And I walk in, and in the first hour, Simon Cowell is smoking cigarettes. And it's not a thing because people don't do that anywhere at any place of business. It's just not a thing. And I'm like, in the first few minutes, in the first hour, I got to complain about the man who owns AGT, the whole thing, the executive producer and the lead judge. I got to complain about. And who do I complain to? Like, for something that's it's illegal. Do I tell the police? Like, who am I talking to? But I knew from day one, in the first hour, I was about to be othered for complaining about the boss. And you know, that moment when something happens, you kind of look around, you're like, did anyone else see that? Like, and I'm looking around and everyone's like, yeah, he smokes inside and he's been doing it. And it's like, are you going to say anything? And because for a long time, like, clearly none of the other talent gave a shit. Like, he didn't just start smoking in season 14.
Right.
They just didn't care. They felt like he made the company enough money that he didn't have to follow the rules, like, and the law. He was above the law. He was exempt, and poisoning your coworkers is totally fine. But I locked eyes with one of the security guys, and he was like, and he was Samoan, and he was like, and at that moment it was like, if not me, then who? Then who? Like, and I was like, so I'm allergic to cigarette smoke. I've never had this issue because it's, you know, against the law. You know, you have to figure out that voice to use, like, hoping that, like, they won't, you know, you have to scrunch up your face. It doesn't seem like so, you know, whatever. And he didn't stop for days. He didn't stop for days. And I got terribly sick. And once, you know, my respiratory system became impacted, I couldn't escape the allergen. So, you know, if you have hay fever, you can take, you know, a Benadryl or whatever, you know, an antihistamine. But if I cannot escape what is triggering my allergies, I just got crazy sick that lasted for 2 months. It was insane. And that was just in the first hour. You know, my boss is smoking. I gotta, you know, ask him to stop. And if he doesn't stop, I have to report him.
There's no HR, B. There's no HR for you.
Well, HR ain't for the employees anyway. It's to protect the corporations.
True.
But at least it gives you, like, a bit of a paper trail of, like, you complained, you know, about something. But that was just day one. And I complained about blackface hands, this act that, you know, used blackface hands to denote that he was, you know, performing as a person of, you know, Black, you know, contestant. And I flagged it because sitting next to me is Julianne Hough, who, you know, had done blackface for Halloween. And it was like right after the Megyn Kelly. So I'm assuming NBC takes blackface very seriously. Well, you fired Megyn Kelly over blackface, so blackface bad. You hired Julianne Hough, who done blackface, so not that bad. You have this act that comes on your stage that you're warned is problematic by a different producer. They overrule it. The guy hits the stage. I hit my ex, and they're like, "Tell us why you don't want, you know, tell us what the problem was." And I'm like, Do you want me to explain in front of 4,000 people why blackface is bad and trigger their memory that, like, I don't know what to do here. Like,
right, that's a trap.
I don't know, like, it's a trap. Like, what do I do? And when the producer came up to me, he, and I was like, what? You didn't notice the blackface hands? And he goes, you caught that, huh?
Bruh.
And I was like, so you knew ahead of time that the guy was going to use blackface hands? And he was like, well, he insisted on it. And I said, he insisted on racism?
On your show?
Yeah. Later, after I, blew the whistle and there was an investigation, that same producer said to the investigator that when I confronted him about the blackface hands, that he found me intimidating and scary, and that's why he lied.
Which is the dog whistle that Black women and Black people get everywhere by fragile white people, intimidating and as if you were going to punch him in the face or something.
But now I'm like, I confronted you with the truth, and you lied to me. And then your excuse for lying to me about the truth and that you just exposed 4,000 people, in the audience to racism on purpose was to lie. And then later your excuse is that you found me intimidating.
You can't be intimidating on any set that Simon Cowell is on where he's screaming at the top of his lungs because he doesn't like how somebody's tone or key as they're singing a song is. That's wild to me. When
your whole brand is based off of negativity and delivering those hard truths that you think that people don't want to hear or just it's too rude to say, if that is your whole brand, then this should have been the perfect opportunity and the perfect place to point out every single thing, which I did. Every day I would be like, this, and this. There, you didn't ask for preferred pronouns. You seem to be having an issue with an act singing in Spanish. You're changing the goalpost for this 10-year-old Black rapper, versus, some of the younger white contestants. Like, I called out every single thing, but at the same time, I was wildly successful at my job. So I thought, as I'm going to stay true to myself and make sure that we are pointing out all the problematic things on this set and on this in the program, including but not limited to Jay Leno, who told a wildly racist joke about a picture of Simon Cowell and his dogs, saying that picture looked like something on the menu at a Korean restaurant.
Bruh.
And one thing I hadn't shared with anyone, and because it just felt like I didn't know what to do with it, was Simon's reaction to Jay Leno's joke was, well, Gab, I found that joke offensive too. I was like, okay. And he said, because you know how much I love dogs. And I thought, yeah. And I thought, because he said, well, you're a dog lover. And I was like, yeah, I've got 5 dogs and I would never compare them to a human being. And I would never put whole ass groups of people ahead of animals. What the fuck? And I thought maybe I misunderstood it. Maybe he didn't mean exactly. Maybe he just worded it wrong. A couple weeks ago, his attorney called my attorney and said, yeah, because Simon's still, he's really upset about that Jay Leno joke because what a dog lover he is. They doubled down on it. So it's like, I heard it exactly as they meant it. And his reaction is part of the violence that we are seeing against Asian Americans that is being encouraged by our president and by his supporters, this anti-Asian sentiment that is leading to violence, that's leading to trauma, that's leading to harm. And I gotta call a thing because when Jay Leno said that, you can never predict what somebody's gonna do, right?
Right.
But you can be very clear about your reaction to it as a corporation. And as a corporation, you did nothing. You didn't care about the racism that you exposed everyone to. And we know you didn't care because you had Jay Leno back later in the season. What message do you think the takeaway is? Right? So when you're looking at the totality, like when they decided to not renew my contract, and
right.
we thought that there was a chance that that may happen, even though through all of this, reporting everything, I mean, there's so many incidents. I still was the number one judge on the show, the number one talent on the show, the number one talent on NBC as a whole ass network, and the number one talent on network television all summer. What I brought to the table is undeniable. But because I pointed out every single problematic thing, they said I didn't have chemistry. So how do I have chemistry with the boss who refuses to follow the law? How do I have chemistry when, you have a woman that did blackface? How do you have chemistry? Like, I did the best I could. I still was friendly. But they believe that when asking for accountability means that you can't have chemistry.
How do you have chemistry with racists? Basically, they were asking you to have chemistry with racists, and you did not do that job. That is the thing you failed at, not having chemistry with racists.
Well, and when you have the head of the network during an open investigation into racial discrimination and all kinds of discrimination, during an open investigation that they asked for and they paid for, you have that same man calling my agent and threatening me, saying, Gabrielle better watch who she calls a racist. In the middle of an open investigation into racism claims.
Oh, they're bold.
Well, a hit dog will holler, and you're hollering.
They were yelling.
Like, I'm hearing you wail from down the street. And their answer to that wasn't that it never happened, is, well, he didn't threaten you directly.
Yo.
That was their actual response in the media, was that the head of their network didn't threaten me directly. Not that it didn't happen, that he didn't threaten me directly. So if everyone at NBC, Universal, Comcast is aware of this investigation and aware that the guy that is in charge of everything and careers is tampering with, influencing, threatening during an open investigation, and he is still protected, it shows you where your priorities are. And it shows you, if you're willing to do this to me, me who I have the resources to fight, I have the platform to fight, I have the support of my community and my family, I have a husband who has an even bigger platform and is even more famous and has even more money. If you're so openly and callously and, casually doing this to me, how many people have been railroaded who just didn't speak up? And this is after I'm speaking up about these things. You're still trying to do this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it's not right. And if this is how I go out, then listen, I've had a great career. I have so much to be proud of. And if companies don't want to work with me because I'm trying to make your company better and safer and more equitable, because I definitely wanted to just come to the job, eat my fucking, corn nuts, watch some jugglers, play with my baby, and call it a day. But no, because, as Black folks in any job, we can't just have one job. We got to be racial Google. We got to be chaperone. We got to chaperone. We got to watch it, and because I have the privilege that I have, when things would go wrong, they were like, Gab, are you going to bring it up? And I'm like,
but
yes,
see, here's the
I
thing.
will.
It's so not fair. And it's not fair because the truth tellers, who are often Black women, are always the ones people are looking at. So you going to help fix it? How about you? How about you? What about the day when you feel like being quiet? What about the day when you're like, you know what? I'm going to sit this out. I'm going to let y'all have it today. On those days, who saves us? Because
when does the cavalry arrive
for us
in those instances, on the days where I'm,
because let's also remember that Gabby was not the only Black person on that set. Okay. When this whole thing came out, the question everybody was asking was, oh, wasn't Terry Crews also on that? Was it a problem? And what did Terry say in the news? He was like, I never noticed any of this stuff. Like basically throwing you under the bus. And now we're all seeing Terry Crews is a whole fool, like a whole entire fool. So the cavalry that should have been there to support you, which you would think would be the other Black person, did not support you. For you, how was that? How did you navigate that as it's going down?
Well, Well, as it was going down, he in fairness is the host. So he is in a separate part of where we are on the stage and whatnot. His job is a little different. But there were plenty of times where I was like, yo, what the fuck? And he was like, yeah, man, like, but never really like,
he ain't saying nothing.
Like, no, like he was never that guy to like where you could really commiserate with or chop it up with or really feel a sense of like protection or care in that kind of way. And this is, mind you, after I was one of the first, people of note to support him when, he came out about, his, sexual assault. And I believed him then, I believe him now. Yeah. And, and the work that I'm trying to do to make these spaces more fair and equitable and safe for everybody will benefit him as someone who gets 3 checks from NBC, which I assume is what part of this motivation is, I guess. But like, because again, being fired is definitely on the table. It's not that you won't be fired, because I was. And maybe after watching me be fired after having so much success was the lesson that they wanted everyone to learn. You know what I mean? And he got that lesson loud and clear, and they're like, but we'll give you a couple more checks. You just say this, this, and this. When they sent him out on that press tour to discredit me, he didn't have to do that.
No.
During the investigation, you could have told the truth about the things that you saw, like that we were all sitting there for. Like, yeah. So I wish that Terry Crews was the only all skin folk and kinfolk I've dealt with in my career, my 25 years, but he's not. It's just in this time of this reckoning.
Yeah.
And with social media, and you do have the option of just sitting there and eating your cereal
and eating your food.
Let the people eat your food and mind your business and let people do the work that will benefit you. Because for a lot of productions, they bring on Black talent because they believe that Black talent will be able to bring in a Black audience. Yeah. But if you do not bring in a Black audience, or if you have sold the Black community down the river, you actually don't serve a purpose. So if you don't think that you will be replaced by the next, happy Negro.
Oh man.
Like, you are so sadly mistaken if you think your checks and your spot are secure.
So now, how are you drawing your lines? What are you determining is your yes factor? What projects are you in good faith been able to say yes to? What are you looking out for, knowing that you've been in these types of fires?
I don't want to work with anybody who is problematic. And, unfortunately, I don't have, access to a whole call sheet from, who the directors are, the bigger producers, the main, the bigger number, the bigger name talent. I can check out those people to make sure that I'm not going into a project working with problematic people and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
If something disrupts my peace, my joy, and my grace, it is not for me. I've never had a feeling of just darkness on a job. And I've worked in some fucked up productions in my day. I've seen it all. I've experienced it all. But nothing felt like how me and the team that I brought on to AGT felt every day. You could feel it. You could see us. There was a sense of defeat.
Yeah.
Because that's that insidious nature of racism.
Yep.
A lot of folks really feel like racism, and I used this analogy earlier today, is like a mosquito bite. Yeah, you want to kind of avoid it, but if it happens, it's not that big of a deal. And even if it gets infected, it's not going to kill you. It's more of an annoyance.
Right.
And all you have to do is just put bug spray on. And bug spray is respectability politics. Mm-hmm. If you just do this, if you just sound like this, if you just pull your pants up, if you just live here, if you just go to this school, if you just have this resume, and it's fool's gold. Just like bug repellent. If a mosquito really wants to bite your ass, it will.
Yes.
And just like if a racist really wants to be racist to you, they will.
Yes.
And it's not going to be racially tinged or all those weird words that
microaggressions. Microaggressions are big too.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, like the racially charged, racially tinged. No, it's racism. It's racist. But they feel like they don't really understand the trauma and the harm caused. If they're not burning a cross on your lawn,
right?
You know what I mean? Or you're wearing a sheet, or screaming, nigger with the hard ER, waving a Confederate flag. People feel like, oh no, I'm an ally. And it's like, you are still practicing anti-Black racism, and you are benefiting from white supremacy, and you have not checked your privilege. You have actually let it run amok. Yep. And you're at least those overt ass racists you can see a mile away, but the insidious nature of racism that's practiced and performed by so-called allies, where they will literally make you think you're going crazy. And it's those microaggressions that feel like death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
Because it's slow and it's everyone is painful, but they add up to a gushing wound that you can't put a Band-Aid on.
Facts. Facts.
Yeah. I just don't think white folks really have a real understanding of the harm and the trauma that racism causes.
Yeah. It's deep. It is layers deep, and we're in this moment of reckoning that's really fascinating, because it also feels like some people are finally starting to understand, like, yeah, I've been a shit show. I got to fix the shit. And hopefully the industry is like, hopefully we are at a moment that's not just a moment. It's like beyond now and the quarantine of it all. Let's talk about the stuff that does bring you some peace. Javier James is a star. For being the most shady baby is everything, okay? And you just came out with a book. Welcome to the party.
Welcome to the party, about us waiting, with bated breath for her arrival, and wanting to create some literature for our young kids, to show that babies don't always arrive in the same way, but they can all be celebrated in the same way, and we can all look forward to them in the same kind of way, without creating images of a pregnant mother or a trip to the hospital. And because Kav was born via gestational carrier, a surrogate, and we have, in our family, my mom adopted 3 children as infants who are now teens and preteens, but there's not literature that showcases her family, and that families are formed in all different kinds of ways. So trying to create these books and these images just to give people an opening to have different kind of conversations, whether you have a family like that, or whether your kids go to school with children whose families were created a little differently than theirs.
You have a beautiful blended family, and you've shown what motherhood looks like in a lot of different forms, as a stepmom, as a mom, talking through like your experience with like pregnancy and all the things that came with that for you. And it's deeply important work. You also are now as stepmom to Zaya, having to be a voice for Zaya who's trans.
Yes.
How have you been navigating these new spaces? Like, you are in such an intersection of many different things as a mom. How are you being deeply protective of the hen?
Well, first I had to humble myself and admit that I don't know shit. And I had to reach out to everyone that I could to educate myself, fast and in a hurry. I thought I was very educated. Not so much. I had to learn a lot. I had to unlearn a lot. I had to check my own biases and views. I had to challenge anyone that was going to come in contact with Zaya. And we were not giving access to anyone that would threaten the safety and the sanctity of our home.
Yeah.
Either you got with the program, you humbled yourself, you educated yourself, and you are ready to embrace our whole family, or you don't have access to any of our family. And my husband's mother, who's a pastor, when, you know, Zaya, she says she's come out a number of times, but, you know, as Zaya has come out, you know, she said, you know, Mama Wade, Pastor Wade was like, I had, you know, members of my own church want me to speak ill of my grandchild. And
wow,
I refused. God didn't put me on this earth, you know, I'm speaking to Mama Wade. God didn't put me on this earth to preach the word, to cast anyone out. We are all created in God's image, all of us. And I'm not going to pick and choose parts of the Bible to cast out one of my own.
Right.
And so she, you know, as an older person, as a member of the clergy, humbled herself and educated herself. Wow. And she said, you know, I'm sure I lost, you know, members, but I also gained some. But in that process, gained the peace that comes with truly loving someone with your whole heart and unconditionally.
Yeah.
And and she, you know, just, we were all talking over, you know, the weekend, and we were saying, it's like, what do people really want us to do with our child?
But
put her out, you know, like send her to conversion therapy or whatever. Like,
some parents,
like, do you not want us to nurture her and love her and embrace all of her exactly as she is, and create access to her community and be real allies and stand tall and take the arrows to protect not just our baby, but a lot of babies.
Yeah.
You know, and it's been a little uncomfortable for us. We were like, we're just loving our baby the same way we love, you know, all the other kids. And people were like, no, there's a lot of people who just don't. And we had to, again, like, humble ourselves and be like, if you need to see us loving our child and how that looks, how loving your trans child or your queer child or your gay child looks, what that actually looks like, we will provide an example. And because, you know, and we've heard from parents who are like, I didn't know what to do. And we're like, just love them.
Just love them and ask them questions.
And they were like, yeah, but I just feel like, and a lot of people, what, you know, when you see the things that people say about our family, they somehow think having a child in the LGBTQ plus community is somehow a knock on them. Like there's something wrong with you that you have a child that is in the LGBTQ plus community. And it's like, nope, like, nope. That's just who she is. And that's just who they are. And it is our job to love and protect and guide and nurture all of our babies, because they all deserve love. But our most marginalized family, and I'm saying family as our community, our babies are dying. They're being murdered at a disproportionate rate. And we have to act radically to save them. And we do all of us a disservice by eliminating people from our protection and from our love and from our collective embrace.
Zaya's blessed to be blessed by parents in the community of people who are like, we love you unconditionally. Like, this is the verb of what love looks like. It's not just cute and family photos. It's the fact that you guys are also publicly modeling this revolutionary love. And there are no other really prominent families who are Black currently who are showing this. There's only 2 families I can think of who show what it looks like to raise kids without trying to put our things on them. And I feel like it's you and Dwayne and Will and Jada, who show like, we want our kids be our kids. That means they're going to be fully themselves, whatever that comes with, and we will support them. And I think that's really important because it allows us to break out the mold. That a lot of us are dealing with trauma because our parents put themselves on us, on our backs, and we're carrying that. So I am encouraged to whenever I see, because I've also met Zaya, and Zaya is brilliant and dynamic and like mature and still a child and like full of imagination, which shows you that Zaya's free, right? Zaya's free. And that is, I think, the ultimate gift of what you can give to your kids. You've given Zaya freedom. And that's massive. And I'm thankful to watch it from afar and see the photos, and I be standing between Cobb's side eye and Zaya, who is now a budding photographer. It's a joy to see, and we need joy right now. More than
we need all the joy. We need all the joy. And I think part of that comes from like us as parents believing that our children are our possessions.
There it is.
That we own them.
Yep.
And while yes, in a lot of instances, your children are a reflection of you, but they're also their own people, and you have to allow them to be their own people. Love them, guide them, but they are their own people, and they don't need to be mini versions of you to be safe or loved or successful or okay. They can make decisions that you wouldn't make. They can want careers that you would never consider valid. They could, be great students when you weren't a great student. They could be bad students when you were a great student. It could be any host of things. And the more you try to grab on, and the more they want to get away from you.
Yeah.
And if you allow, within, like our kids are all going to be mannerable and respectful, but they're going to be who they are. And people are like, somebody said today, why doesn't that baby ever have any bows in her hair or where?
What is wrong with people?
I was like,
what is wrong with people?
Look at the picture before. She had a big ass bow in the middle of her head. But this idea of like, we have to constantly police the bodies of our children. Yeah. And I'm not talking about like from predators, keeping them off of, communicating with, predators. We're talking about girls need to act this way. Boys need to act this way. There is one way to perform femininity. There's one way to perform masculinity. And this is how it has to look. Everything has to be binary. Everything has to be, and it's like, Kavya James is going to look however Kavya James feels like looking. Some days she's like, where's my brush? Some days she's like, she has her drop crotch joggers on, and some days she has, a frilly dress, that, looks like a wedding gown. Like she chooses what she is going to put on. And as long as it's, right for the weather, I don't care. These are not the battles I'm fighting.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like somebody was like, what's your biggest, challenge with Zaya? And I was like, that she loves Frasier.
And you think Frasier is wildly boring. Like,
well, I want her to watch more Black shows. And and they were like, that's the biggest challenge. I'm like, yeah, that is. Yeah. Like, I mean, really just trying to insert more, Black authors and creators into, her constant stream of books and, films and TV shows that she, that she watches. That's really it. Otherwise she's a dream.
Are you old enough to read I'm Judging You? Let me think. Maybe. But the next book she'll be old enough to read, because that one's it's called The Fear Fighter Manual. So that one will be good for Zaya to read. Okay. I can't let you leave without asking the thing that everybody needs to know, because everybody's like, bruh, how is it that Gabby hasn't aged in 25 years? What is the skincare routine I need to know?
This right here. I started doing this. I started drinking a gallon of water every day, probably around the time I got divorced. So like mid-30s.
Okay.
Just feeling like shit, just feeling unlovable, feeling unworthy. It just was like, I wanted a dramatic change in my life. And I had all these things that happened all at once. And the woman I was working with at the time, Ajayi Johnson, got me started on a gallon of water a day. Mm-hmm. And part of it just flushing you out, but it almost like created more space in my body for more things that were better for my body.
Okay.
So I started changing my diet, and then I started changing my diet. And so instead of just eating the things that kind of brought me joy from like my childhood, I started eating food for my hormones and, you know, my body today and you know, how I wanted to feel and my energy levels. And then like in the last 3 years, I started, I went gluten-free and dairy-free because it was, I was having adult acne and I had hair loss. And I would like wake up and I looked like I was like 6 months pregnant. And I was like, what the fuck? And my hormones were all out of whack. So I went to a hormone specialist and was like, take out gluten and dairy, alcohol and caffeine from your diet and see if it makes a difference. 3 days in, I looked like a different person. And I was like, how about we add alcohol and caffeine back? So I've stuck with the no gluten and no dairy. And that's eliminated most of my bloating, and it stopped my hair loss. But yeah, it just started with reaching rock bottom. When I reached rock bottom, I really changed my life, as one does. But I also have really oily skin, and oily skin, while it sucks, is like embalming fluid.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It kind of helps with like wrinkles and stuff. So yes, you are more prone to other things, but you're going to look snatched and dewy and glowy for a long time.
I was hoping it was a serum. You would say, damn. Okay, so I guess drink water, eat well, which always seems like basic, but I'm like, yeah, that's probably it. Because I'm like, I want to stay looking, I think I look 25 right now. Who knows?
You look very young. You're going to look the same for another 20 years.
Amen.
I promise you. I promise you.
I'm 55, I look like this. Okay, cool. So I need to drink more, keep drinking water.
Keep drinking water. And when gluten goes south on you, as it will, like me with dairy.
But I need rice. Wait, is rice gluten?
Gluten and dairy.
Is rice gluten?
Oh, no.
Okay, amen. Okay, I'm African. Because being told to like stop eating rice is like oppression. So I'm like, as long as
it's a staple. It's a staple. No, like flour, like wheat.
Okay.
Flour.
Okay. Got it.
But you would be surprised how many things. So if like you eat rice with like a sauce or like any kind of like stew type of you know meals, which I am familiar with, of a number of different cultures, that the stew generally has some kind of gluten for thickening.
Ooh, does jollof rice have gluten in it because of the stew? I have to see this.
But should I Google it? You want me to Google it right now?
Yes. Like, does jollof rice have gluten in it? Because, listen, I'll be like, look, Jesus, can I just eat my rice until the end of time? As long as I can do that.
Oh my God, I think my phone is like eavesdropping because it came right up. Let's see. Where is it? Okay. Well, there is plant-based and gluten-free recipes.
Okay.
The easy gluten-free chicken jollof rice is made with chicken, tomatoes, peppers, and rice. But I think it's just like I think normal, the what you're probably used to probably has some gluten. Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna take that risk. You know how like some people are like, I'm gonna have this one vice, and I'll just.
Oh, on the weekends I don't care. I just eat whatever I want. I eat all the dairy and I have terrible gas. And Dee was like, if you don't stop eating ice cream, he was like, your lactose intolerant farts are like gonna kill me. But yeah, on the weekends, I don't care. I just eat whatever. And then I go back, so Monday through Friday, I try to be reasonable, but I love wine. I love tequila. I'm starting to love gin. I don't know where that came from. I don't know if I'm turning into like an old person because like my mom likes gin. And I was like, yeah, Mom, let's have some gin.
And you're like, I don't know who I am.
I just like it.
I mean,
yeah, like when he started drinking Crown, I was like, you are becoming old Negro Jim right before my eyes. Like, when did you start drinking Crown?
My husband,
and he was like, I started drinking with my dad. Bonding with my parents.
See, that's what happens. My husband drinks bourbon and scotch. Like he now plays golf. I was like, you are old and washed officially. You're officially old and washed. And he like goes golfing like twice a week. I'm just like, he has like a whole golf wardrobe. And I don't understand.
Oh yeah, no, like if there was Fashion Nova men golf, he would be the spokesperson. So he went like 2-3 years ago, he got introduced to golf and is now obsessed. He's got 5 clubs, five bags, club, I don't know, bags of clubs, whatever. I'm like, why do you need so many clubs? And he was like, well, you know, like on vacation. I'm like, okay, that's 2. I was like, sir, stop. But he gets these like care packages of like golf clothes. Mm-hmm. So he's out on the course, like doing like thank you videos for the golf clothes.
Do you become an influencer, a golf influencer?
A golf influencer.
I think it's a rite of passage for Black men in like late 30s to just become golf aficionados. I was like, he'd be taking golf lessons. I'm like, who are you? What is this, Tiger? Like,
oh yeah. No, he's out here. He puts a little like cup, and he has his putter, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah,
it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. I'm like, bless it. Good luck and Godspeed. The shorts look good on you. I like those. But yeah,
he looks like if Steve Harvey had a golf line, like if Jalen Rose had a golf line, like the most bright. Like he looks like a pack of Skittles on the golf course. So like it'll be an all orange, you know, monochromatic golf ensemble, like a lime green.
Oh my God!
Way to go, baby! They're not gonna miss you. They weren't gonna miss you before, but they're really not gonna miss you now.
But especially now. So what is your self-care routine in this dumpster fire world that we find ourselves in?
What do I do? I read. I lock myself in the bathroom. I shouldn't say I lock myself in. I more lock them out. And I just commit to like a chapter every bathroom visit. And that just kind of brings me, you know, kind of down a little bit. I'm reading Clap When You Land. I
haven't read that yet.
No? Yeah, I got Vanishing Half.
Oh, I have that. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
Have you read Untamed by Glennon Doyle?
No. Wait. I feel like I did. Wait, hold on. Let me Google the cover.
Pull up the cover. Untamed.
It feels.
That's another one.
When did it come out though? I feel like it's not.
It came out in March.
Then I think I bought it, but I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, there's some good books right now. There's some good books coming out right now.
Yeah, I have it, but I haven't read it. I haven't read it yet. Is that was a good one?
Oh, it's a good one.
It's nonfiction or fiction?
Nonfiction series of essays, because Glennon is a New York Times bestselling author who the week after she dropped her book about her marriage basically said her marriage is over and she's now LGBT. She's now lesbian, and how it like basically transformed her life, and how her making this massive shift to a very white evangelical audience of hers kind of like changed her life and just allowed her to just continue to be this untamed person. It's amazing.
Oh shit. Yeah, no, I have to read it. I mean, it's in my stack. I'm so behind, and I realized when I just felt like kind of out of control, in the sense of there's something about the quarantine and the daily onslaught of the torture and killing of Black bodies that my PTSD was kind of running amok. It just sort of took over.
Yeah.
And I couldn't sleep. I was just eating for comfort, like nonstop, and prone to crying, but like extreme anxiety. Didn't leave the house. Didn't feel comfortable. I still have not felt super comfortable leaving the house. Yeah. But I was just on 10. And when I was talking to my therapist, which I'm a big proponent of,
amen.
You know, she was like, well, what has changed about what you normally do aside from, you know, talking to me? And I was like, and I kind of was going through my checklist, and I was like, damn, I stopped reading. And it's like reading for me is my peace, my joy, and my grace. It allows me to breathe. It allows me to think. It allows me to slow my breathing down. You know what I mean? And calm myself. Yeah. So I just kind of, and just being on my phone nonstop during this pandemic, because you feel like if I'm not on my phone at all times, like there's going to be, a bunch more killings, and you never want to be, uninformed. And
then we find ourselves deeply overwhelmed in a corner, rocking back and forth.
Exactly.
So you unplug to read. Okay. And
yeah,
I miss getting my eyebrows done, and I need a manicure and pedicure. So I'm like, at this point, it's just a point of shame. No, like, you are amazing. You've been in this industry for a long time. You've evolved. You've maintained your grounding, even as you've gone through all of these crazy moments. A lot of them have been public, and you've handled it with so much grace. And I am such a huge fan, and I have such a deep respect for who you are as a person, as you show up as a Black woman who is always like, I will be the troublemaker here, but it's for the greater good. So, like, thank you for just being you.
Thank you. Thank you for being nice. Because it's like when you're a fan of somebody and you meet them and you're like, please be everything I made you in my head. Like, please be dope and amazing. And you were beyond dope and amazing, and not just to me, to my whole family. And I will never forget that. So thank you.
It is my absolute pleasure. And just, you encourage me to continue troublemaking. And just know we support you. We stand for you. And we're side-eyeing some people who you've already told people to side-eye, but they didn't really believe before. And now, but the truth is always going to come out. So we're going to stand on truth. Continue standing on truth.
That's all we have.
That's all we got.
That's all we have.
Thank you for taking time to join me on this podcast on Rants. This is so dope. I'm like, oh my God.
Thank you for having me.
So cool.
Finally, we did it.
So cool. Thank you for having me. Shout out to Gabrielle Union for joining me on this episode of Rants and Randomness. She's so dope. She's so dope, y'all. Please follow her on social media. You definitely want to follow her on Instagram. She's at Gab Union. And she's on Twitter at It's Gabrielle U. And make sure you sign up for my weekly love letter so you know when my next book is available for pre-order. It's soon. I give all the highly exclusive information on the love letter first. So go to loveletter.com to get signed up. Much love to Chicago Recording Company for partnering with me on this podcast, even when I can't come into the studio in person. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, anywhere where you get this podcast. And yeah, man, follow me on social media. I am at Luvvie everywhere. See you on the next episode.